Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and call the board meeting to order. Kay, would you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Allard.
Here.
Present. Geist.
Here.
Dr. Geist, if you would mind answering some questions. Just a moment, we're getting the feedback cleared up. Can you simultaneously hear and speak to the board members?
I can.
Could you identify any person present at the location from which you are calling?
It's only me.
And please confirm that you received the board materials in advance of the meeting.
I did.
Harper.
Present.
Rose. Segurti.
Here.
Stites.
Here.
Van Hooser.
Here.
Wilmore. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. So starting off the meeting, as we always do, we would like to have some recognition of some student accomplishments. And again, we started this in the beginning. The point of it is to keep our focus where it should be, and that's on the students. So 6 Tennessee Tech students served as state legislative interns during the last academic year. Zachary Stevens, one of those interns, will address the board to talk about his experiences. Zach, who is from Livingston, is majoring in political science with minors in communication and history. Last September, Zach spent the legislative session working for the Tennessee General Assembly in the office of Chairman Curtis Halford, and he has started a consulting firm, Hamblin and Stevens. So Zach, please join us.
Can I adjust this? Can y'all hear me? Oh, perfect. Well, thank you all for allowing me to come and speak to y'all a little bit today. I think you've read off my bio a little bit, but I'm originally from Livingston, Tennessee, which is about 20 minutes from here. It's a rural, small town. 4 years ago, I took a tour of Tennessee Tech on a spring day. It was very nice and rainy and cold. And for some odd reason, that seems to happen a lot, but for some odd reason I fell in love with this university. And then as I think back, it was 4 years ago this month that I was sitting in a SOAR session. And here I am 4 years later talking to the trustees. It's quite amazing how life works out. So I began my college career, had a little rough patch there. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Well, that didn't work out, so I tried business. That didn't work out either. So finally, I found political science. And with that, I've learned so much. I got some footing after I found that major. And in a political science class, I actually met one of my best friends now, Houston Hamblin. He's not here today. But we decided to start a consulting firm. I guess I was 20 years old. Who does that? Maybe I'll be rich one day and can give back to the university. Hamblin and Stevens Political Science Department, wouldn't that be nice? Very good. What was that?
And you don't have to be rich to give back to the university either.
Well, I forgot my wallet today. I apologize.
I tried, Kevin.
You didn't think this was going to be easy, did you?
And to bring, does anyone have a checkbook I can borrow? Someone rich? So I'll bring this forward. So last semester I had the honor, unique pleasure of serving in Chairman Curtis Halford's office with the Tennessee General Assembly. It's one of the best experiences I have ever had here, probably because I didn't have to take any tests, quizzes, or have homework. Nonetheless, it was an awesome experience, and I'm very thankful for the university for having these types of programs so students can get out of the classroom and get that hands-on experience that is just so valuable and make those real-world connections. I have an interesting story that I was actually telling Miss Rose about earlier. One of those connections I made was with a lobbyist, one of the most interesting and she's just an amazing woman professionally. She has ran Senator Corker and Alexander's campaigns. She got the Improve Act through and so much more. But made that connection. I was at a political event last Saturday and happened to see her there. And she sent me a text. She said, "Let's meet after this." I said, "Sure." And so we talked a little bit. She said, "I have a business opportunity for you. I'm going to come up to Cookeville, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more." Well, we talked for about an hour, and what I get from that meeting is I'm going to board a plane about 6 a.m. tomorrow and fly to California. Thank you to Tennessee Tech for getting me out of bed, I guess. But there's just so many examples like that I have seen over my time there at the General Assembly that I could tell you about. It's that hands-on experience. So to conclude, I want to thank the university, the administration, the trustees, professors, staff, everyone that's just been involved in shaping me into embodying bold, fearless confidence. I love that slogan. So I will conclude with wings up. I'll bring my wallet next time. Any questions or anything? Thankfully, hopefully not. Thank you.
Zach, thank you. I fully expect you to be running for office soon.
If you would like to make a donation to my campaign, I'll send you a link.
Tom, it's a good politician to make it when it says, "Can I borrow someone's checkbook, please?"
I was about to say, I think we all forgot our checkbooks.
I made the first one. I don't forget my wallet.
Here we go, first donation.
No, no way. You're going to need that. Okay, while we're on the topic of celebrating individuals, I want to just make as a point of personal privilege before I start into the meeting. This is my last meeting as chair, and as I end this 2 years, I want to just recognize a few people. It's been a tremendous experience, and I've learned a lot. Hopefully I've done an adequate job, and I am very, very proud to be associated with the board members here, because they are quite amazing. But just to acknowledge a few people, first of all, I wanted to say, Kay, you are an amazing secretary and make me look good in so many ways. But I really do appreciate your dedication. And, it's amazing. It doesn't matter what time of day it is, because a lot of times I'm looking at this stuff at night, and I have a normal job that I really do. And Kay's always there and always able to answer questions and on the phone. And Phil, you second? Well, second. How about that? Sorry. But you really have taught me a lot, and I admire and respect you in your position and role. And you're the reason why I accepted to be on the board in the first place, but even more so, the reason why it was such an honor to serve as chair. And there are many others, absolutely, and forgive me, I can't recognize them all, but I do want to shout out to one person who, through this process, I don't know, didn't really have anything to do with it, but became a good friend of mine, and that I went to often just for advice from a faculty point of view. Someone that is probably as far from me as I could ever imagine, but became a close and dear friend, and that's Dr. Carl Owens. It's funny, I just want to say thank you for your support, Carl, for your talks, for your laughs, your wisdom, your insight, and your perspective that I would not have otherwise had in this role. And I appreciate the friendship and look forward to continuing that. So, Carl, I hope you never retire from this university. You keep talking about it. Don't leave. You can't leave until you replace yourself. So, God bless you, friend. Anyway, forgive me for that. Moving on. I think that first item on the agenda is Roman numeral 3, approval of the minutes. The minutes are in your book. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second made. Any amendments, adjustments? Okay, roll call vote.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Rose. Aye. Sigourney,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. So the next item on the agenda is the election of a student trustee. And just a brief comment, and then I'm actually going to let Forrest do the honors to introduce this student. We actually are down to one nominee, so it is pretty straightforward, but we are still not going to bypass the process. But I do want to say that the Focus Act requires the board to select a student as a non-voting member. Tennessee Tech Student Government Association, the SGA, developed a process for selecting candidates to present to the board for consideration. Pursuant to the requirements established by the SGA, a candidate for the trustee position cannot contemporaneously serve as an SGA officer. So our candidate is Mason Hilliard. No, yes, it is. So, Forrest, please.
Earlier this year, Dean of Students Katie Williams, President-elect of SGA Brad Sells, and myself began the process of searching for the next student trustee. It was a difficult task because you need to find an individual both with the capacity and the interest to serve in such a prestigious position. It has been my honor to do so for the past year. Through this process, we selected a grand total of 3 candidates, and those 3 candidates were approved by SGA. However, as Chairman Jones mentioned, 2 of those unfortunately had to drop out due to personal matters. This has left one remaining candidate, Mr. Mason Hilliard, who has previously served as our SGA president. I will now let Mr. Hilliard step up to the podium to talk a little bit about himself.
Thank you, Forrest. Board of Trustee members, President Oldham, my name is Mason Hilliard, and I'm majoring in political science with a focus in legal studies and a double minor in history and communication studies. As Theodore Roosevelt once said, do what you can with what you have where you are, and that's exactly what I've done. Since starting at Tennessee Tech, I have involved myself in a variety of activities. I wanted to do what I could where I was. Last year, I had the incredible honor of being elected and serving as president of the Student Government Association. By serving as president, this allowed me to interact with members of faculty, staff, administrators, and of course, students of Tennessee Tech, which I know is the main focus of this board because Tech as a whole is a unit you serve, and I am prepared to do so. Last year, as serving as president of the SGA, I was appointed to various university committees, such as the Provost Advisory Council, the Student Affairs Committee, and the Administrative Council. Being on each of these committees allowed me to sit at the table with faculty, administrators, and students to listen and converse about current events and projects that are occurring at this university. This experience allowed me to gain a broader perspective of what Tech means to all of its stakeholders. I am grateful I was able to see the impact that Tech has, and I'm excited to bring this newly found perspective to this board. And in closing, last year, a student asked me why I've devoted so much time and effort to this university, and I simply responded with this: because this university has invested so much time and effort into me, as well as thousands of other students. Tennessee Tech has not only provided me with a wonderful education, but it's provided me with resources that have helped me increase my academic skills, my social skills, my leadership skills, and most importantly, my life skills, and it really has. Tennessee Tech not only prepares their students to be great employees, but to be great citizens, and that's why Tennessee Tech means so much to me. I would be honored to serve Tennessee Tech because I want to do what I can with what I have where I am. Thank you all for allowing me to be here today, and thank you for all you do for Tennessee Tech and will continue to do, and I would greatly appreciate your consideration for this position. And at this time, I will take any questions you all may have.
If you look in your board book, you can see Mr. Hilliard's application. I have one question. As part of the application, we talked about 1 or 2 important issues you have on campus, and you listed mental health as one of those issues you think needs to be addressed. Could you go into a little bit more detail on that?
Yes, I do think mental health has become a prevalent issue on campus today. I think we have a wonderful, numerous resources here at Tennessee Tech, such as our counseling center, and they do so much for students. But I believe we could do more just by talking about it. I think mental health has a stigma behind it, and if we just discuss it and talk about it and share with students that you can come forward and receive help if you're struggling with mental health, and I think by doing that, it'll make their process and life here at Tech a lot easier.
Forrest, would you like to make a motion to nominate Mr. Mason?
Am I allowed to?
Yes?
Let's go for it. I move that we accept Mason Hilliard and move him to be the next student trustee.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions? Okay, please.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Sigardi,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Mason, please take your seat, and that was outstanding. Welcome. You are now part of the board. You are both sitting. Please feel free to participate as you should. Next item on the agenda is the President's report. Phil, as you're coming forward, I'd like to make a few comments, please. The President was recently received 2 honors that I wanted to mention. First, he was recently recognized by the Tennessee Valley Corridor with a Corridor Champion Award. This award is presented to someone who has demonstrated extraordinary leadership in advancing the Tennessee Valley Corridor. Second, he has just been named to the NCAA Board of Directors, one of only 5 individuals from our division that serves on the board. The NCAA is the nation's largest organization for intercollegiate athletics. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. Those are both great honors, and I appreciate that greatly. I appreciate the opportunity to represent Tennessee Tech and the state of Tennessee in those efforts. So, thank you for your support. Let me begin by, first of all, thanking Chairman Jones for his not only his kind words, but the last 2 years of service to all of us. I can't imagine a better founding chairman for this board. We all know that we had a lot of things to get through early on, and Tom, you've done an excellent job with that, so I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Forrest, thank you for your service on the board. You've done an excellent job. You've represented your fellow students exceptionally well, and we're all very proud of you. And Mason, congratulations on this great opportunity. We look forward to working with you. We're already seeing a great tradition of student involvement in the board, and I have great expectations that will continue. So thank you both for your service. I'm going to try to go through a report fairly expeditiously. My goal here is to pretty much update the board on recent activities, to just kind of get you updated on some of the things that are going on, particularly this time of year. And then I'm going to turn the rest of the report over to our colleagues, our faculty colleagues directly involved in leading the strategic planning effort. So I want you to hear directly from some of them about their activities and what's going on. I think that's incredibly important. So I appreciate them, and I'll recognize them in just a moment. I'll start out with a quick update on construction projects. As you know from just a glance around campus, we still have a number of construction projects ongoing, most of which will be completed in the pretty near future. The new fitness center is on target. We should be occupying that building probably this next February, so it's moving along quite well. A very successful project. The new laboratory science building is a few months behind that. It started later, but it is nonetheless pretty much on target in terms of schedule. And so we're anticipating occupying portions of that building by the fall of 2020, so basically a little over a year from now. The library project, Bartow and Kittrell Halls, both are nearing completion. We should see those construction fences all down within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll be moving back in. Well, the library's occupied, of course, but Bartow and Kittrell will be moving back into those buildings toward the end of the summer, and the plan is to be up and running fully by the start of the fall semester. So we're excited about that. We're now moving our attention on to the next phase of projects as part of the campus master plan that was developed in 2014. We're actually making significant progress along that plan, so much so, in fact, that we have an RFP out now for the next master plan update. So we anticipate having a designer in place in the near future to start that next master plan, and the board certainly will be fully involved in that. But our attention now is turning particularly to landscaping on campus. As we get some of these construction projects completed and construction fences down, we can pay more attention to landscape and some of the streetscape around campus to improve not only the mobility around campus, but also the aesthetic appeal. We're looking at new signage, and particularly that you'd be interested in beginning to move on a project to improve Dixie Avenue through the heart of campus. Dixie Avenue is a city street. It does not belong to the campus, and so this is in partnership with the City of Cookeville. We appeared before the City Planning Commission and subsequently the City Council a couple weeks later, gained their approval to begin the design phase of redesigning and reworking Dixie Avenue with a primary goal toward improved student safety. We want to control traffic a little bit better through that area and provide better student access across Dixie. So that's the primary endeavor. We'll be looking at bike lanes and dedicated pedestrian crossings and a lot of things to improve not only the safety but also the look of Dixie Avenue. So we're excited about that. Another step forward we've made recently, we're announcing this summer, we've been working on it for a few months, but we've created a new Office of Parking and Transportation Services for the campus. This is an office that is dedicated completely to all the parking services and shuttle services and all that goes with that on the campus. So it's basically a one-stop office for students and staff to get their needs met, and we will have a group of individuals that are spending a bulk of their time thinking about those concerns and those issues. We've done this without any budgetary impact whatsoever, just a reassignment of personnel and responsibilities. So we're excited about this. We think it's a great step in the right direction to make sure that we're providing the best possible services to the entire campus community. Turn my attention a little bit now to going back to the board assessment from this past year, and we've talked about it off and on a little bit this morning about the training needs for the board. We are continuing on that. You will recall that we have already completed an informational session, educational session for the board along budget and finance, and to understand how we go about doing those things. We have planned already for upcoming sessions, one for enrollment, financial aid, and career placement, and then another one on the various relationships that we have as a university with auxiliary enterprises such as the University Foundation, Tech Farms, golf course, etc. And based on the previous discussion this morning, I've added to this list now a session on the institutional research office and data access in general, so we'll plan an information session on that as well. I do want to mention and remind all the board members, hopefully everyone can attend. I understand schedules can be tight and difficult, but the Tennessee Higher Education Commission training session planned for Memphis in August, August 15th and 16th. I hope most, if not all of you, will be able to attend. I think you'll find it to be a very valuable session. You'll be able to interact with board members from all the other LGIs and the UT campuses, and you'll have an opportunity to gain a lot of insight from other board members and their experiences at other institutions. The keynote speaker that THEC is bringing in is nationally prominent. It's President Michael Crow from Arizona State University, and Dr. Crow is well known as a very forward thinker in higher education, and I can assure you we will all be very stimulated to listen to what he has to present at that time, and I'm sure it will be thought-provoking and probably very provocative. So I would encourage you to attend if at all possible. And I know THEC has gotten some information out about that, and if we can assist in any way with your travel arrangements or whatever, please let us know. The comprehensive campaign, a fundraising campaign, some of you are aware that we haven't announced it formally, but we have surpassed the $60 million goal in the campaign that we set out 5 years ago. So that's actually 2 years early from where the end of the campaign would exist. So it's a tremendous accomplishment. Kudos to Dr. Kevin Braswell and staff and everybody involved. That's a major step forward for the institution, and congratulations to everybody involved. We are now turning our attention with this extra time that we have remaining in the campaign to really begin to focus on some strategic fundraising goals that have either come up since the start of the campaign, or some of which just we weren't able to hit with the right donor appeal throughout the campaign. So in particular, the new engineering building is at the top of that priority list. We have some fundraising to make that match requirement for the state. But also we have a little bit of finishing up work with the science building and other projects around campus. Scholarships is always at the top of that list as well. So we will continue our efforts. Fundraising will not slack off one bit, but this gives us the flexibility to now turn our attention to a little more boutique approach to fundraising over the next couple of years at least. And we'll continue to see where those priorities are. So thanks to all of you for your support and for all the many donors that we have identified and worked with over these last 5 years. We've certainly expanded the donor pool for Tennessee Tech significantly, and that speaks well for the future. I'll give you a quick update on the legislative session as well. It was a very successful session for us. I think just to give you a little bit of context, this was the second legislative session that we have now been through as an independent, locally governed institution, according to the Focus Act. In contrast to the first legislative session, I think we all, those of us that appeared before the legislature and the legislators themselves were still trying to figure some of these things out. There was a little bit of uncertainty. Nobody knew exactly how it would work. There were some concerns that legislators had that things would change dramatically. Some feared the worst. Fortunately, this year, actually, in tone and in context, it was a very different year. There was a level of comfort on both sides of the table, I think, that we didn't see in year one. Legislators seem to be much more comfortable with how the boards at the LGIs are performing, and that you as board members were taking your roles very seriously and conscientiously and meeting those expectations that legislators had and had hoped for. So I think the conversations are getting much easier. They are becoming much more comfortable, and I think that is reflected in the legislature's actions in terms of investing in higher education. and more specifically investing in Tennessee Tech. We came out of this legislative session extremely well. We picked up a significant amount of additional state resources. We were the top performing institution, university in the state, according to the funding formula this past year. That gave us a slightly larger share of the pie than we had previously. So that was to our credit and to our benefit. We also came out most notably with a $3.25 million appropriation to begin the new engineering building project for the planning phase. So we are rapidly entering into an RFP solicitation for a designer to start the planning process for the engineering building, with every expectation that the rest of the state-funded portion of the building will be forthcoming in the next legislative session. So that's a tremendous benefit to us. And we also came out with the third and final installment from the state to complete their commitment to us on the change of our Carnegie classification to a doctoral research institution. I will say that that particular piece of funding, that gives us a total of $2.1 million now that's recurring because of that Carnegie classification change. That has been a lengthy multi-year effort on the part of a number of individuals to keep that on track, but that's to everybody's credit and benefit that has been realized now. So we're glad to get that and move on. Provost Bruce has already mentioned the selection and hiring of our three new deans. We're excited about them coming on board. Of course, Kim has already been here. I told her last night that she has nobody to blame but herself now, because she can't really blame her predecessor, because she was her own predecessor, because she was in the interim position for a couple of years. But we're excited about this. These are three outstanding individuals. They bring a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and expertise to these roles, and we look forward to working with them. For the third straight year now at Tennessee Tech, we graduated over 2,500 students. Those are essentially all record years. That's what, if you go back to 2010 and the Complete College Tennessee Act, that was the goal of that legislative action at that point in time, was to not just get students enrolled in college, but to see them graduate and graduate on time. And to our credit, and I would say to the credit of most of the institutions in the state, that has occurred. Again, that's 3 consecutive years of over 2,500 graduates. It's also, we set a record this year as well, although I think the clock is still ticking a little bit. We may have some final numbers at the end of the summer, but we have graduated 26 PhD students this year. That is a record high for this institution as well. So I think a lot of things are pointing to the fact that we are on the right track. We certainly have our issues and struggles, but we're beginning to see the evidence of all that hard work. One of those areas of struggle that we continue to have, as we've talked about a little bit this morning, is enrollment. And there's a variety of factors that have driven this situation. I won't dwell on those because I don't know that it really matters at this point why we're here. Most of these are external to the campus. We didn't have any control over those, but it does indicate the fact that we have to respond, and we need to respond in meaningful and significant ways in a timely fashion. Let me just tell you what we are doing currently. As we continue to evolve and we continue to study this enterprise and how to more effectively recruit the student body that we want in the future, not just in size, but also in diversity and in academic prowess and all the other factors that go into driving what this great institution is all about. So we have placed a full-time recruiter in the Nashville market. So this is an individual that lives full-time in Nashville and has the opportunity to more easily work the Metro Nashville area conveniently than us having to send somebody, even though it's not that far. It's a little easier if somebody lives there full time, and so that has taken place. We've added a full-time community college recruiter. So as we look toward with the Tennessee Promise, more students selecting to go to or start their academic career at a community college, we needed to have a stronger presence with transfer students at the community college, and so we've moved in that direction. We're putting more resources and financial support into overall recruitment and marketing. You've probably, if you've been around the Middle Tennessee area and in other parts of Tennessee for that matter, you'll see a stronger presence in billboards, commercial spots, other kinds of advertisements. I suspect you'll see a lot more of that. We've hit certain messaging pretty hard over the past year or so. I think we're at a point now where we're going to begin to migrate into some additional messaging that we may have missed, and so that will continue to evolve as well. We're continuing to conduct a full-fledged study of our recruitment efforts that will ultimately result in an overall strategic enrollment plan, and that effort continues. As I said, we're developing recruitment messages and that distinguish Tennessee Tech from other choices, other options that students have. Obviously, students have a lot of options, a lot of choices to make, and we want to make sure that our message is getting out and giving them the opportunity to see what Tennessee Tech has to offer and to get their attention. And, you know, probably fundamentally, we're trying to drive more student and family visits to campus. We know that we're very successful at a high level of converting visits into enrollments, and so some of this is trying to drive more visits to campus and up our game in that regard. So we will continue these efforts. These are just a few of the things that we're doing currently. I appreciate Dr. Brandon Johnson and his leadership in enrollment development to move these initiatives along. I fully expect that we will begin to see some changes that are reflective in enrollments in the near future. So that will be an ongoing conversation that you'll hear more about as we go along. I took a moment recently to just review. I've been here 7 years now as president. It moves pretty quickly. And I just to kind of take stock, if for no other reason, for my personal benefit, to see where we've come and how far we've gotten. Just a couple things of note. The number of faculty since arriving on campus in 2012, we've added 61 new faculty positions to campus. That's about a 16% increase in permanent full-time faculty. The average 9-month salary of full-time faculty has increased over that time period from $64,000 in 9 months to $74,000 in 9 months. That's a 15% salary increase for average. Our 6-year graduation rate has increased from 50 to 55%. That may sound not too great, but let me just tell you, in higher education terms, that's a pretty significant improvement over a short period of time. Research funding, this is externally based research funding, has grown from about $12 million a year in awards to over $19 million in awards. So greater than 50% improvement in research funding over that time period. I know that, so that just gives you some idea of some of the things that we have done well at and we continue to work on. I have an announcement to make, and it's in my notes. It has an exciting announcement. I'll be honest, this is somewhat of, I have mixed emotions about this announcement. Part of it is very exciting. Part of it makes me very sad. I'm excited to announce that in addition to his current duties as Vice President for Student Affairs, Mark Burnett has agreed to serve in the capacity of the Chief Diversity Officer for the university. I know the board and I share a lot of interest in moving diversity initiatives along on the campus. The strategic planning group has worked very hard on developing ideas and strategies on how to improve our overall diversity on campus, and I applaud their efforts. One of their strong suggestions was to name a chief diversity officer, and I agree totally. I think in Mark Burnett we have found the ideal person in that. Mark's commitment to the university is extremely well known. Mark's been here for forever. Mark's been here. But something around 38 years, I think, and I can think of no better person to do this. Unfortunately, Mark is also, and this is where I'm sad, Mark has decided to announce his retirement effective at the end of this calendar year. So we have him for Chief Diversity Officer for 6 months. He and I have discussed this at some length. We both believe he can do a lot of good for us in this diversity effort, even in those last 6 months. I'm excited to do that. He will help set the tone for these efforts, and in that time period we will then begin to work on what comes next. But I'm really thankful that Mark has agreed to take this on, so we're going to make sure he's used completely while he's still here. But thanks to Mark. Let me then just lead us into this update on the strategic plan initiative and implementation. I'm thankful that we've got most of these individuals. Jeff's
Phil,
not
before
here.
you move on, can I
Yeah.
ask you one quick
Sure,
question?
absolutely.
I'm sorry, I was waiting for you to get to questions. The Carnegie designation that we have, R2, is that correct?
That's correct.
Am I calling it the right thing? I just am not familiar with this at all. How hard is it going to be for us to maintain that going forward? Is that difficult to do?
Well, the primary, Carnegie restructured this again in the most recent phase, and you're up. This cycle is every 3 years. So basically, every 3 years, they take a snapshot. It's not an average. It's whatever you did in that year that they count, and they count every 3 years. So the two criteria that are essential for us to maintain R2 status is to graduate a minimum of 20 PhD students in that counting year. And as I said, we graduated 26 this year. So now, if you look back at our history, we've bounced around. So we need to make it sure we're consistently graduating 25 to 30 PhDs a year to be safe. The other criteria is that you have at least $5 million a year in research expenditures. As I indicated, we're over $19 million this year. So that criteria, I think we're pretty safe. The PhD numbers, we're still a little vulnerable, but we've done a lot of effort to get our numbers of PhD students on campus up to a level that you would expect to be graduating at least 20 a year. So I feel a lot better about it now than I did a few years ago. I think we're in a pretty good shape. We're not totally out of the woods on it, but we're in pretty decent shape. Yeah. So let me turn to the strategic plan implementation then. And let me just introduce who's with us. Now, Dr. Jeff Bowles is the faculty lead. He's the chair of the chemistry department. Jeff's not with us today, but with us here, seated on the front row, we have the 4 working group chairs. That's Dr. Jason Beach from Curriculum Instruction, Dr. Ann Davis from Accounting, Dr. Ed Lissick from Chemistry, and Dr. Bedelia Russell from Nursing. We have over 80 faculty, staff, and students engaged in this overall implementation process. So these 4 individuals are providing the leadership to a large extent, but they will be the first to tell you they've got a lot of people behind them, working on these initiatives. This effort is faculty-led, And as I said, these leaders are here with us today. So I thought instead of me talking about it, I thought it would be better for them to kind of explain this to you in their own terms and from their own experience. And so I will turn it, I think, Dr. Beach, I think Jason's going to talk to us on behalf of the group, and I'll turn it over to Jason.
Good afternoon. One of the original goals of this process was to create a new way to approach strategic planning at the university. We wanted to do this with a campus-wide focus. During this process, we've actively engaged, as the president has said, with 80 faculty, staff, and students, but that number doesn't include our working groups. Those groups include members from all avenues and areas within our university, including outside partners as well. We've addressed what you've expressed are areas of focus for this university, and these areas include diversity, online learning, career readiness, workforce responsiveness, faculty support to encourage innovation, and to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of operations that will benefit all students. The working group chairs have worked closely with the Implementation Steering Committee to identify and remove barriers. They've listened and asked questions about our proposals that have come from our working group committees, and they prioritized and evaluated our proposals. They broke down our proposals into quick impact and big impact projects. The quick impact proposals were ideas that could be implemented quickly to improve our university. They include the study abroad proposal, which is designed to develop contracts with education touring companies to expand cultural educational opportunities for our students. The Efficiencies for Students proposal is a proposal that's designed to improve the graduation process for our students. This is done through improving degree audits, as well as providing a supportive advisement model, and the continued implementation of electronic forms that will continue to improve workflow. The Facilities Improvement proposal reduces the duplication of work orders and requests, implements an asset management system, and helps track decisions based on should we repair those items or should they be replaced. The Workforce Database proposal is designed to help provide a database for faculty members to use to design and build new programs. This database will include data from local, state, and international data sources. This data will be used to help design and develop new programs that will help provide more opportunities for our students. The Online Student Orientation proposal is an online portal that students can access online and will provide web resources for both the undergraduate and graduate level. The big impact proposals we've been focusing on is to increase student diversity. This will be accomplished through, as the president has already said, the implementation of a chief diversity officer at the cabinet level and diversity liaisons that work with the administration to improve communication about diversity scholarships. We also proposed a College of Online Education that will create an assistant or a provost position of online education who is focused on the development and management of online education enrollment and will work closely and in partnership with the faculties and deans to develop and improve our online curriculum offerings. The CAFE is a faculty professional development resource that will provide online training to help improve curriculum for our faculty, and will also engage and improve both traditional classroom environments and online environments. The CAFE will work in conjunction with the College of Online Education to aid faculty in development of curriculum. The Grand Challenge Rural Reimagine proposal, and this is one of our fastest moving initiatives that have cut across all aspects of the university. It's important to know that while we're planning funding for this proposal, we're not waiting to get started. We've already piloted processes this summer, and those pilots include a way to receive and vet proposals from both the campus and the community, the establishment of a GNR student ambassadors, curriculum focused on rural reimagined projects. An example would be chemistry classes in the fall looking at projects that will directly impact rural environments, interactive web presence where students can chart and plot their impact in the rural communities, and provide students with software needed to produce videos and to share their experiences on the rural communities. As you can see, we've accomplished a lot in a short time, and we are beyond where we would be thanks to our working group committee members and their active involvement in the strategic planning process. The chairs are here and are available to discuss any proposals in more depth. Thank you.
I have a question. And you talked really fast, and I
I know.
tried to follow all of that. I do the same, so
Sure.
bear with me. You mentioned a College of Online something, and I didn't remember.
College, yes, the College of Online Education.
Education. So explain that to me. You talked about that as a separate college, but yet where I'm trying to sort out is if I'm in the engineering school, do I run my online programs through the College of Online Education, or is that a separate, is it just for education majors?
That's a fantastic question. So the College of Online Education will function a lot like the College of Graduate Studies in that it will work with each individual college. The colleges will be responsible for designing and developing the curriculum and proposing the programs, and the College of Online Education will be there to help facilitate that. For example, providing information on data like what's the best demographics for your colleges, or if you're needing to seek new different demographics, maybe you're wanting to target new populations, the College of Online Education provost will be responsible for that.
That's terrific, and I don't remember if you were here this morning for our discussion about pricing, so maybe Dr. Stinson can get with you later about pricing online courses, and I think that should be part of, as we develop this College of Online Education, hopefully this idea, Dr. Stinson, can get rolled through that college, right? I mean, is that how you're thinking about it, or?
So when Provost Bruce and I were discussing the online fee that I brought forward this morning, we did talk about that, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to isolate some of those funds to support the development of online courses, and it would be under the purview of the provost. So that was, also informed their work on developing the proposal we brought forward this morning.
Well, in my head, I had two things I wanted to hear. One was, y'all will be shocked to hear, diversity. Thank you, by the way, Dr. Burnett. We love you, and you don't get to retire, but we're glad you. But I'm about the same age as him, and I retired a few years ago, so I can't complain too much. But diversity and online, those were the two things I wanted to hear you addressing, and it sounds like you've got big plans for both of those, and that's great from my perspective.
Thank you. Any other questions?
By the way, you couldn't see it, Dr. Oldham, but when you were talking about Dr. Burnett, these guys they leaned forward and they were kind of clapping in their seats. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. Not about it retiring, right?
No, it was.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I want to thank Jason for the presentation. I certainly want to thank all of them. It's a highlight of my week when I get to sit down with these folks and go through some of these working sessions. It's energetic, it's enthusiastic. I can assure you they are as impatient as I am about getting things done, and they have great ideas, and they're doing a great job at vetting those ideas across campus. So I really do appreciate the work that they're doing. I can't think of better ones to take it on. And, in conclusion, I'll just say a couple quick things here. As we move through this strategic plan, it sort of takes me back that some of you have a copy of the book that was published for the 75th anniversary of the university, the book entitled The Search for Identity, in which the authors posed historically that has been a challenge for Tennessee Tech over its, at that time, 75 years, is determining what its true identity was. And many of us over the next 25 years would probably say that search continued. This past Tuesday, a lady by the name of Susan Suby visited with me in the president's office. She is the great niece of Austin Wheeler Smith. Now, that probably won't mean a lot to most of you, but Austin Wheeler Smith was a longtime registrar and dean here at Tennessee Tech for the first 40 years of Tennessee Tech, from 1916 to 1956. He also served as interim president on a couple of different occasions. And he wrote the first history book about Tech, entitled The Story of Tennessee Tech. In that book, he writes of speaking before the State Board of Education in 1940. In 1940, Austin Wheeler Smith had this to say, quote, "From Lebanon almost to Knoxville and from the Kentucky line to Chattanooga, there lies a series of poor agricultural counties which have practically no industries. But they do have the Tennessee Polytechnic Institute. And in support of that institution, they are one. They want it to take its place beside the Virginia Polytechnic Institute, the Oklahoma A&M, now Oklahoma State, and the Mississippi A&M, now Mississippi State University." That was said in 1940, okay? I present to you that through this strategic plan, through this grand challenge, we are claiming our true identity. We're going back to our roots, but we're going beyond that. We are claiming that identity for the people of this region and the state of Tennessee. We are the university for real people who want a real education, looking for a real career. We are the People's University, and we are Tennessee Tech. And I want to thank these faculty and everybody else on campus that's helping us realize those goals. Thank you for your support, and Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, it's time for item number 6 on the agenda, Executive Committee Report and Recommendations. We have several things to report from the Executive Committee meeting. First of all, the last board meeting, there was a discussion about the, Tennessee Tech email addresses, and the Executive Committee was given the assignment of approving the guidelines related to removal of email address of former employees and or students, and we did do that. We reviewed that. It is in your board book if you want to see what that is, just as a reminder. But there's no action required, as that was the responsibility of the Executive Committee, and that is moving forward. And as I understand, they are going through all the emails at this time, figuring out which ones should be removed and which ones should stay. Moving on, the President's performance review process and timeline. The Executive Committee is responsible for organizing and conducting an annual performance review of the President, and as part of that responsibility, the committee approved A, a timeline for completion of the process, B, a board assessment questionnaire, and C, a cabinet assessment questionnaire. And the chair also appointed Ms. Harper as the Executive Committee representative responsible for completing the President's performance review process. Trudy did that last year, did an outstanding job, and we greatly appreciate her service. I know it takes a lot of time and effort to do that again, and I don't believe we didn't make any changes or edits to the process, so the process is basically staying as it was last year. But Trudy, thank you for that. Item number 3 on the report, bylaw 5.4. During the Sunrise hearing for Tennessee Tech's Board of Trustees on April the 1st, 2019, the chairman of the House Government Operations Committee requested that the board allow speakers to address the board without requiring advance notice. But currently, our bylaw 5.4 requires a person to request to address the board 15 days in advance of the meeting, absent good cause, and to indicate the subject matter to be addressed. So we did discuss it in Executive Committee. We confirmed that we wanted to keep our bylaw as it is. Of course, that can be taken up by the board if you so desire. But from the Executive Committee's recommendation, we believe it's proper just to leave it standing as it is. So moving along to Section B of the Executive Committee's portion of the meeting, we are on the regular agenda. The first item on the regular agenda, I think in the board book, we're at 6.2.1 TTU Policy 110. This is access to public records and rule. In December, the board approved a policy and rule related to access to public records. Consistent with the law, the policy and rule require proof of Tennessee citizenship to access public records. Prior to the rule becoming effective, interested parties requested a hearing on certain provisions in the rule, including the requirement of proof of Tennessee citizenship. Tennessee Tech conducted the hearing in February and now presents the comments with staff recommendations for the board's consideration. The policy and rule are the same as the policy and rule approved by the board in December 2018, except for the following. Number 1, A provision is added to the policy and rule to make clear that a person's classification as a Tennessee citizen for the purpose of accessing public records is not a basis for classification as an in-state student for purposes of tuition and fees or admission. A provision is added to the rule and policy to allow a requester to photograph 25 pages without incurring a charge, and there were, I think, some major typographical errors that were corrected. So these revisions are highlighted in yellow in the policy and rule in your board book. And if there are any questions or concerns about that, please bring it up now. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve policy 110 and rule as proposed after consideration of public comments received and the staff's recommendations related to those comments.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve policy 110 and rule as proposed after consideration of the public comments received and the staff's recommendations related to those comments.
So we have a motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. I do want to point out one thing about that policy, if I can find it. Wow. Is that okay, you may have to direct me to where it was, but one of the comments was, is that my microphone? Okay. Anyway, the point was the students at the last board meeting requested for access to public records something more than, or they requested a Tennessee Tech ID. And to clarify, and it is in the rule and in the policy, that a Tennessee Tech ID plus some other form of residency were acceptable. And we just wanted to highlight that that is there and that is available, and that does, it's not exactly what you wanted, but it's much, much closer. And I think that was the important point that was realized before. And we also added, I guess, in 6.2.1.8, an acceptable form is listed on the website. So on the website now, we edited the website, and it does list acceptable forms of identification. So anyway, we have a motion made, and we have a second. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay, we'll call the question. Kay, roll call vote.
Geist.
Aye.
Harper.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Sigardi.
Aye.
Stipes.
Aye.
Van Hooser.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Thank you. So at this point, also from the executive committee, it's time for the election of a chair, the next chair of the board. The executive committee in their meeting did decide to nominate Trudy Harper for this position. And I do want to point out, though, that the nomination doesn't have to come only from the executive committee. It can still come from the board. So I would say, are there any other nominations for the chair of the board for the next term? Seeing none, just to confirm, Ms. Harper, do you accept that nomination?
I do.
Okay. Well, don't clap yet. We have to vote on it. She could.
She accepted.
So.
You want me to make
They're
a motion?
clapping
Let's have
because they didn't have to
Yes.
do it. That's the reason they're clapping.
I think that. Do we have a motion to accept her as the next board chair?
I will after that noise. I move that Trudy Harper be nominated for the position of board chair for July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2021.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made, and do we have a second? We had a second? I'm sorry, this feedback is really getting painful. Let's have a roll call vote.
Geist.
Aye.
Harper.
Abstain.
Rose. Sigardi.
Aye.
Stipes.
Aye.
Van Hooser.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
6 ayes.
Congratulations, Trudy. Motion carries. Now we can clap.
Should we be nervous that she didn't vote for herself? You could have more confidence in that.
You've got a lot more to be nervous about than that, John.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Starts early, doesn't it? Okay. Item number 7, we are ready for the Audit and Business Committee report and recommendations. So, Teresa, please.
Okay. So for the report on the faculty promotions, the Audit and Business Committee discussed the 2019 and 20 faculty promotions. There's no action required. Also, on the capital budget for FY 2019 and 2020, an update was provided on the final approved state capital budget for 2019-2020. And there's, again, no action. And the final one of the summary item is the TTU Policy 132, conflict of interest. And the committee reviewed the substantive revisions, and there were no additional comments, and they comply with the Tennessee Comptroller's guidelines for the audit committee charters. And so we'll move on to item B, which is the consent agenda. There's 2 items on the consent agenda. One is the tenure recommendations, which were provided, and the second is the 2 president's emeriti contracts. And so upon the committee's recommendation, I move the board approve all items on the Audit and Business Committee's consent agenda.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Done a second. So, Kay, roll call vote.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Sigardi,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Thank you. So, Teresa, we're ready for your regular agenda.
Okay. The first item is approval of disclosed projects for and the FY 2021 capital budget. The committee reviewed and approved the disclosed projects and the FY 2021 capital budget requests. And upon the committee's recommendation, I move that the board approve the disclosed projects and the FY 2021 capital budget request.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Aye. Second.
We have a second. Any other comments, questions? Okay, roll call.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Sigardi,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Item number 2, maintenance and mandatory fees. Approval of Tennessee Tech's FY 2019 and 20 recommended maintenance and mandatory fees. Upon the committee's recommendation and consideration of the public comments received, I move the board approve the recommended FY 2019-20 maintenance and mandatory fees.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any other comments, discussion on the maintenance and mandatory fees? Seeing none, Kay?
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Sigardi,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay. On the non-mandatory online and alternative delivery fee, approval of Tennessee Tech's recommended non-mandatory online and alternative delivery fee. Upon the committee's recommendation, I move the board approve the recommended non-mandatory online and delivery alternative fee.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any other discussion or comments on the online and alternative delivery fee? Seeing none, okay?
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Sigardi,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
And the final one for the Audit and Budget Committee is the 2018-19 estimated and 2019-20 proposed budgets. The review and approval of Tennessee Tech's 2018-19 estimated and 2019-20 proposed budgets. Upon the committee's recommendation, I move the board approve the FY 2018-19 estimated budget and the FY 2019-20 proposed budgets.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Do we have any other comments, discussion? Seeing none, Kay?
Geist.
Aye.
Harper.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Sigardi.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Van Hooser.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And Tom, can I say really one
Yes,
quick thing? Just for those that weren't part of the Audit and Business Committee, we had extensive discussions on these, of which the board, all the board members were present on. So if it sounds like we're just running through these really quick and approving everything, our discussions were held in the committee meeting, and we had quite several hours of discussions along these lines. So I just wanted to make that comment for those that weren't a part of the earlier discussion. Thank you.
Good point. Thank you. Okay, we're ready for, I guess, item number 8. This is the Academic and Student Affairs Committee report and recommendations. First item up is on the regular agenda is TTU Policy 205. This is the faculty tenure policy, and we did pass it on from committee with one edit. And do we have a motion to approve policy 205?
So moved.
Okay. I'll second it, and then I'm going to ask, actually, before I second, I guess I should ask, are we making the motion to approve it as we approved it in the committee? Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I'm asking for, is a motion to bring it to the board as revised, and the only addition in policy 205 was to add that intellectual property clause, and that was it.
So I second Johnny's motion. Thank you.
So motion's made and seconded. Any other comments?
I would like to say how proud I am of the president and the faculty and all those who participated in this, because it was important to the board that we take a hard look at this, and I think we've improved it, and I'm expecting that we're going to be able to, the people involved will be able to reward those people who are really working hard and superstars, and we'll be able to identify those who are not, and I don't think there's very many of those. So I appreciate the hard work by everybody involved.
Thank you, Johnny. Any other comments? This tenure policy is a big deal, and I really appreciate the university for working so hard on it. So, seeing no other comments, roll call vote on policy 205.
Geist.
Aye.
Harper.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Sigardi.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Van Hooser.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're ready for policy 207. This is tenured faculty, and I don't know what else to call it, tenure maintenance, but there were several edits that we discussed this morning, and there is in your board book, it was updated I think just before lunch, a clean policy 207 with all the edits that we made this morning. I hope that everyone's had a chance to take a look at those edits. Dr. Geis, you were asking about it earlier. Did you get a chance to see that? Pull it up?
I did. And the main question, I guess, that I still have is...
We can barely hear you.
The main question with the part that is 8C2, I just want to make sure, because the way it reads right now, says the provost shall, after conferring with the faculty senate president and the faculty trustee, make a recommendation to the president. And I guess I just want to make sure that, I think in the past it was, the previous policy was more of the three of those people together were making the decision. But now it seems like the provost could just confer, which I think means a lot of things, and then pass that step. I just know in Faculty Senate and when we were working on the policy, that piece of really, in an authentic and real way, involving the Senate president and the faculty trustee was important. And I'm just a little bit worried this is watering that down.
Chris, can you pull up slide 3 from my slides this morning? So it reads, in cases related to adequate cause as defined in section 8B5 to B8, the provost shall, after conferring with the faculty senate president and the faculty trustee, make a recommendation to the president as to whether the evidence supports a conclusion of a violation of policy or policies or otherwise is adequate cause for termination. So the point, as I understand it, is that it's not really a vote. It is the provost is conferring, but the provost is making their recommendation.
Okay, as long as, if that's kind of the intent there, is that it's the provost, again, with the faculty trustee and the faculty senate president, then I'm fine. I just didn't want to, I guess, water down, like as I said, the role of the other two.
Now, Melissa, my expectation is that those three groups will debate it. They don't have to come to a consensus agreement on it. And the provost then will make a recommendation to the president and share with the president if there were differences, what the differences were. And ultimately the president, as the leader of the institution, has to make the right call.
And then it goes to a hearing, which to me is kind of that correct next step. So as long as we're all on the same page, that's what's happening, that there is this discussion, with the provost and the faculty trustee. And so there's this discussion, and then it goes on recommendation to the president, but then there's that hearing, because the hearing is a done deal, right? That's what Kay said this morning.
Okay, Dr. Geist, but I think it's actually a good catch. Yeah, we might all be on the same page, but it's not exactly what the words say. Since this was my edit, I'm going to propose we edit it again. I want to change the words from make a recommendation to the words share recommendations.
I would wholeheartedly support that.
Because, I mean, it's not just the provost's recommendation, it is the recommendations from the faculty senate president, the faculty trustee. So I think that's more appropriately representing what we're trying to say. Dr. Bruce, would you agree with that?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. So you're saying that it would say, instead of make a recommendation, share the recommendations to the president.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
So you come before the president, it's not just your opinion. That's the point, right? Dr.
Yeah,
Oldham?
that's great.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree, and just, I can only speak for myself. Obviously, this is policy that transcends any single president, and we need to think of it that way. But as president, if I was in this situation, I would be foolish not to accept and actually solicit recommendations from those other individuals, because this is a very important decision, and it would just not be prudent to do otherwise.
Yeah, and I think it's important for the board to know that the faculty group who worked on this policy, there were a lot of department chairs that were involved, and people who understood the need for this policy, and this was heavily debated in faculty senate, but we got to a point where we could all agree that this was a good policy. And so I'm really happy to see this go through like it is.
Good. Okay, so. Okay. So, one other comment too is that the policy that was uploaded, that is in the board book, is missing some piece that we brought in the committee meeting too. No, it's.
This is an addition.
Is it not in? Just a moment. Oh, that's right. That's right. Just one comment too is what's up on the board right now is that we added the words right after B5 through B8. It said, or any other reason not listed, because we needed the catch-all in this paragraph C2 in case there was some other reason that wasn't listed in those first 8. So that was also discussed.
What's in board books is correct, but it's not consistent with this, is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, gotcha.
That's correct. And I just want to make that point clear, and we did vote on that part of it this morning in committee and sent it up to the board. The only new amendment is, again, changing make a recommendation to shares the recommendations. So I would, and I think we discussed all the other edits this morning. I hope everyone's had time to review them. At this time, I'll go ahead and ask for the motion. Oh, Kay brought up a point. We do need to make one more change, and it's, I completely concur on page. It.
Mr. Chairman,
I think it's on page 8.
As I look at my board book currently, mine still says that we're going to have a vote. So maybe I don't have the right one.
You may not be
in
looking
mind.
at the right one. It was uploaded.
Yes, it's right there.
Mine actually has the whole edited one.
Johnny, I think maybe you haven't resynced your board book.
You have to resync, yeah.
And I just have to get out and come back in. I'm not sure how to resync otherwise, but.
Yeah, mine has the edited one.
By majority vote. You got to go all the way out?
Yeah, that's what I had to do too.
Well, they gave me a hard one to work with.
It's supposed to be right here. Okay, in the clean copy on page, what page is that? On page 8, yes. On the clean copy, page 8, section E, near the bottom of the page, it's actually page 334 of the book. Section E, when it says under sections 8B, 1 through 8, we also have to add at that point the parenthetical expression or any other reason not listed, because that was omitted and we missed it also this morning. So we're bringing
Okay,
this.
that's
Dr. Geist?
added to mine. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
So that's already present in mine. So that's what you're saying, right? On the
No.
new board book, it's there.
It should have been present under C2, but it was not in section E. Go down 2 paragraphs, and it should also be added under section E.
I see it. I see what you're talking about.
Because E is what defines all the hearing process. And so, again, if there's a hearing and it's something that didn't occur for these 1 of 8 reasons, then E also applies, and that's the catch.
I see it. I understand.
Okay, so again, The only change from this morning, two changes. Again, one is from make a recommendation to share the recommendations, and the other one is in section E, adding the or any other reason not listed.
We added the conflict of interest too, but that's not changed from this morning.
That's correct. The conflict of interest didn't change from this morning.
Mr. Chairman, are you ready for a motion?
Yes, I am, please.
I move the board approve TTU Policy 207, tenured faculty as revised.
Do we have a second?
Point of order, I had a motion on the floor. What'd you do with it?
We voted on yours, I thought already. Didn't you? I'm sorry, Trustee Stites. I thought we voted on your motion on 205. Was this did you already move on 207?
What do you think?
I didn't record a motion.
Okay, I'll second your motion.
Sorry, I thought.
Okay.
If you had a motion, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I wasn't aware. We have a motion made by Ms. Harper, seconded by Mr. Stites. Motion's made and seconded. Before we call the question, any other comments or discussion or concern on this policy? This is a big one. Okay, just before I call the order, just remember, policies like this, it is our best effort in all cases, and we are required, according to both of these policies, 205 and 207, to review every 4 years. And I would, I guess, expect the provost and the president to monitor this. If there are adjustments that need to be made as we go forward, always bring it up. It shouldn't be set in stone completely. So, Kay, please give us a vote.
Geist.
Aye.
Harper.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Sigardi.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Van Hooser.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. So, that was a good one. We're ready for policy 228, graduate faculty appointment responsibilities. We did review and approval of TTU policy 282 this morning, so I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this policy.
Upon the committee's recommendation, I move the board approve TTU Policy 282, graduate faculty appointment and responsibilities as proposed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Roll call vote.
Geist.
Aye.
Harper.
Aye.
Rose. Sigardi.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Van Hooser.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next one is undergraduate admission requirements. Dr. Johnson went over that this morning. It's review and approval of the undergraduate admission requirements. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, upon the committee's recommendation, I move the board approve undergraduate admission requirements as proposed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any other comments, suggestions? Seeing none. Kay?
Geist.
Aye.
Harper.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Sigardi.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Van Hooser.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
7 ayes.
One other comment from this morning, and we actually already, TTU Policy 302, Student Conduct. This was originally on the agenda, and just a point of order, the administration has requested that the board delay consideration of this rule until September to allow Tech to hold a public hearing and to receive and consider comments on the rule before presenting it to the board for approval. It is anticipated that the board will review the rule and comments at its September meeting. So, that concludes all the main agenda. There are a couple of other items, just other business. Forrest, would you come forward, please? I'm a bit far back from the microphone, but Forrest, I just wanted to recognize you as the student representative, and you did an outstanding job this year. I really admire and respect the fact that you spoke up and engaged as you saw fit and did it with a passion and eloquence far beyond your years. And it was fantastic. So thank you very much. Mason, you have big shoes to fill, literally and figuratively. So, one other point is I want to recognize Dr. Melissa Geist. I'm so sorry that you aren't here, but Dr. Geist, in your historic role as the first faculty trustee to serve this board, you fully committed your time and your energy. I appreciate the thing that we share, a passionate devotion to this university. Melissa sets an example for how to prepare students for the challenges and joys of life after college by offering them educational trips and experiences of a lifetime. On behalf of the entire board, Melissa, I thank you for your service as a trustee. We know also you will continue to have a positive impact on students as a faculty member. Thank you for your service to this board, Melissa. I'm sorry you aren't here. We do have a plaque for you, and we'll get it to you in proper time. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a challenge and a great experience, and I'm glad I got to meet the board and to really work on this first board of trustees to try to set it in the right direction. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you. One last point is that I want to, and she's not here today, but Dr. Sally Pardue, just to give a brief introduction, she'll be our next faculty trustee. Sally Pardue, an associate professor in Tennessee Tech's Department of Mechanical Engineering, was elected by the Faculty Senate this spring to serve as the board's faculty trustee. She will take office on July the 1st. She holds a PhD in engineering from Tennessee Tech, also earning her bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering from Tech. From 2009 and 2018, she served as the founding director of the Millard Oakley STEM Center. She is a member of the American Society of Engineering Educators, the Society of Women Engineers, American Society of Mechanical Engineers, Acoustical Society of America, and National Science Teachers Association, and the American Educational Research Association. So, Dr. Pardue, we are looking forward to having you on our board, and I hope you get a chance to see this. So we'll see you next board meeting. With that, we have no further board business. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.